Well, hello, everyone. It's really wonderful to be here. Thank you so much, John and Judy. It's a super exciting day today. It's wonderful to be celebrating with all of you. As John and Judy just mentioned, today is the 1-year anniversary of the launch of the Celo network. Woohoo! Which means one thing, that it is birthday time. Here's to 365 epochs, 17,280 blocks per epoch, making 6.3 million blocks that the network has produced and validated without any downtime over the last year. It's an amazing sight to see, and one that I think we should really just take a moment to take in. Huge kudos and just a big shout out to all the node operators that kind of made this possible. All the core developers who've been busy responding to bugs and kind of adding features, improving the security and the throughput of the network over this past year. Here's to all of you. It's just been, it's incredible. Now, speaking of the last year, I wanted to take a moment to walk down memory lane and just remind ourselves of just how far the network and the Celo community has come over this past year. I've noticed that when you're in it day to day, it's really hard to appreciate all the incredible progress we've made. And so it's just really nice to take kind of a moment to reflect. And so let's do that right now and look back all the way to Earth Day 2020, when a bunch of intrepid community validators all set up their validators with this Genesis block with a start time of 1600 UTC, April 22nd, 2020. Now, each of these validators were configured to attempt to run Celo's BFT-based consensus protocol starting at exactly that time. And I think it's really worth highlighting just how cool that was. All of these validators were community run, they were independently run. The Celo Foundation didn't then and continues to not participate in running kind of any of these validator nodes on the network to ensure maximum decentralization. And very few proof-of-stake networks have been stood up in this way. I can really only think of one right now, and so it's before Celo. And so it's really a testament to all the folks who chose to participate that day and make something beautiful happen. I'm glad the balloons are a hit. I'm going to keep them on for the whole talk. And so, when we logged in that day, a year ago today, things were pretty tense. I'm not going to lie. We went to stats.celo.org, which back then was the prevailing tool of choice. When you wanted to see what the state of the network was and what validators were doing. And after what was probably just a short wait, but that felt like eternity, the very first block was produced by a quorum of participants. It was produced and then validated by a quorum of participants, and the network was off to the races. Here you can see kind of stats.celo.org, literally moments after the first block was created, and the network was alive. Now, if you fast forward to today, as many of you know, the tool of choice has become kind of the Celo.com to see what the state of the network is, put together by the awesome folks at BI23. And not only has our validator set grown, earlier this week we actually briefly crossed the $2 billion mark when it comes to the amount of staked assets that are securing the network. So that is huge. Even if it was only temporary, it's definitely another thing worth celebrating this week. Now, in addition to kind of security going up on the network, network utilization has also gone up. So here's another chart from the Celo.com. This is, I think, from yesterday, so it's already out of date. But as you can see, we now have over 500,000 addresses on the chain and 5 million transactions as of today. With a lot of that kind of growth happening in recent weeks, which is really, really amazing. I didn't realize I looked like Jim Carrey either. That's it's an interesting comment. Anyway, going back to last year again, since it was Earth Day, since we were launching on Earth Day, we really wanted to commemorate that day appropriately. And so for the launch of the network, C Labs planted 20,000 trees in Muy Muy, Nicaragua, in the names of everyone involved with standing up the network. And here, really special thanks goes to the one and only James Downer from C Labs, who's been kind of germinating and planting trees in Nicaragua for the past 5 years, and who really helped make this happen. So big shout out to James. And with his help, the 20,000 trees were used to reclaim pastures, all with native species in a community that is just really passionate about reforestation, but just needed some help to get over the many hurdles of germinating, transporting, and then ultimately planting thousands and thousands of trees. Now, if we fast forward to today, this is what things look like. Some of the saplings have grown actually a fair amount to kind of these bush-like sizes. And this one was even flowering just in time for today for this amazing anniversary. It's just a beautiful sight to see. But continuing down kind of this memory lane journey, if we go back to last year, a few months after the network launched, the community took a look at the Celo governance proposal number 7, CGP 7, which the community voted to enable the Celo stability platform to be enabled, which effectively launched the Celo dollar, CUSD, which was just incredibly exciting to see. The launch went off without any issue. And shortly afterwards, CoinMarketCap added Celo dollars to its website. And if you were to visit the CUSD page today, you'd see a chart that looks like this. This is from just a few days ago, I think, showing a price that has stayed within kind of the 1 cent of the $1 kind of range for the vast majority of the year. And so it's a huge testament to the soundness of the design of the Celo stability protocol, and also just really compelling proof that algorithmic stablecoins can function very effectively, even if there are some designs that are having some hiccups. Even more exciting, CGP 26. Actually, I haven't checked yet, was due to be passed and executed today. So it's really exciting, bringing with it the launch of the Celo Euro, obviously just in time for this birthday party. Super exciting. Continuing down a little further, last summer was also our first Connectco, celebrating the launch of the Celo dollar. And, it's just been amazing to see how far we've come on that front as well in such a short amount of time. Back then, Kaneko was just a very short single day event with kind of a single track, nothing like the event that we're all taking part of today, which obviously is much bigger and multi-track and multi-day. And a little later, if we continue going down 2020, Sumo joined the Celo ecosystem. And for those of you who don't know the Sumo folks, highly recommend getting to know them. They're absolutely amazing. And since then, the Sumo team has been just absolutely invaluable, playing just tons of different roles throughout many corners of the Celo ecosystem. They even launched Optics yesterday, which, if you didn't see, is a new gas-efficient interoperability standard for cross-chain communication. If you haven't looked at the announcement yet, definitely check it out. It's really, really neat. Now, if we fast forward to earlier this year, around the time that Velora was coming out of beta, Velora, of course, for those of you who haven't played around with it yet, is an open source kind of flagship non-custodial wallet that utilizes all of the platform's features to recreate kind of this experience that looks and feels a lot like Venmo or Cash App, if you're familiar with either, but in a fully decentralized way. And since the launch, its user base has been growing really, really rapidly, with over 130,000 users as of yesterday. That's a really exciting number, half of which now have a balance, which is also really, really exciting. And even better, over 100,000 of these folks have now verified their phone number using Celo's decentralized phone verification protocol. So that means that we know for sure that there are likely over 100,000 unique users who have been using this product on top of the Celo platform, which is just incredible. Oftentimes, it's very, very hard when just looking at addresses to get a sense of how many actual users are behind those addresses. And obviously, phone numbers are much harder to Sybil, and so this is a really, really interesting metric. But I think even more excitingly, all of these users who've now verified their phone numbers can be are in a position now where it's really, really easy to transact with them. People can simply look them up in their contact lists on their phones, just making it much, much easier to transact. So that's also really, really exciting. Now, some of these users came in through Impact Market, which has been ramping up their amazing Universal Basic Income DApp. If you haven't seen Impact Market, I also recommend checking them out. It uses the Celo platform to really cheaply disperse a daily microtransaction to thousands of beneficiaries. They're around 1 to 2 orders of magnitude cheaper than the best-in-class direct giving platforms today that are using existing financial rails. And so it's just been incredible to see them grow. Since then, they've signed up over 15,000 beneficiaries in 68 communities who are each now receiving just under 50 cents a day. And so if you haven't yet donated to Impact Market, highly recommend checking them out. You can just go to impactmarket.com and donate using Velora in CUSD. What's really exciting is these funds have now started circulating in many of these communities using Velora. And more than that, people are now even using them to buy essential items, by going directly to a growing list of merchants who have now started accepting Celo dollars in these communities. There's even a mural in Lauro de Freitas in Brazil, one of Impact Market's biggest and one of the early communities. Cool. Well, moving on, February was was certainly the month when mobile DeFi started to heat up on the Celo platform. And not only did Uniswap launch, but Mula, Mento continued to gain traction. All of this was powered by an increasingly long list of cash in and out providers that let you buy Celo dollars directly with fiat, just making it much easier to get going with all of the DeFi happening on the Celo platform. All of this was also kind of helped by some of the amazing dev tools and services that have also been launching on the platform. Figment's Data Hub and the Graph's amazing indexer have now become, just really amazing kind of staples for developers building on the platform. And then if we fast forward to this week, mobile DeFi took just this massive leap forward when Deutsche Telekom announced that it would be joining the Celo Alliance for Prosperity. I, for one, really can't wait to see what they build. It's going to be amazing. So that was the year, looking back, but of course we're not done yet. At C Labs, we've been very heads down, working on what's next, and we've been working really hard on these 4 big areas. Number one, naturally we're working hard to bring even more users to the platform. Part of this comes with finding ways to further increase cash in and cash out liquidity in a broad set of markets. And additionally, we're working very hard to continue to make Celo the obvious choice for developers who are interested in building Web3 products, especially ones that are mobile in nature. And then finally, with all of this growing demand as of late, we've got really big plans for scalability, which Tim will talk about in a sec. So let's take a look at each of these. So on the user side, the Celo Rewards program continues to be extremely well received. So for those of you who are new to the Celo Rewards program, last year through governance, the community approved that a small portion of the community fund be spent on rewarding certain end user behaviors. And since then, the rewards program has incentivized people to hold a balance in a wallet that verifies their user's phone number. And we've heard overwhelmingly positive feedback on the program, and we're really excited to continue to invest in it and to continue to experiment with other incentive programs, such as rewarding users for inviting others, and even potentially rewarding users for being invited by others after they verified their phone number. Now, we're also investing in furthering the kind of delightful experiences that Valora offers. Valora has always been a product where we iterate based on feedback, and we've received a lot of feedback that seed phrases are cumbersome and annoying, and so perhaps without too much surprise, we're investing heavily into a smart contract-based wallet that supports account recovery without those pesky seed phrases. We're also investing in more language support and then also more educational content. And then, from the overall Celo community, there's been kind of this overwhelming request that there be more kind of mobile DeFi options, either directly in Valora or accessible through Valora. And so to that end, the Valora team has been exploring ways to make it easier to earn a APY-like reward on your wallet balance. You can think of this even as kind of an extension to the existing Celo rewards program that will become fully sustainable into the long term. And then also, DeFi includes trading as well. And so the team has been obviously working hard to bring more assets to Celo. I mentioned optics earlier, and that's certainly one bridge that will bring some of these assets. There's lots of other folks in the broader community also working on bridges. ChainSafe, Chorus One, Cadena, and the TBTC folks over at Thesis and Keep. And so keep an eye out for more of these assets coming to the Celo platform as well. And then finally, if you've gone through the phone verification protocol, you've probably had to wait quite a while to get your text messages, or certainly longer than perhaps you're used to from kind of centralized phone verification onboarding experiences. That delay comes from the existing randomness beacon that takes a while to generate enough entropy to securely pair you with some validators who can then send those text messages. And we're working really, really hard to create a new randomness beacon that doesn't require that delay, which will then make phone verification significantly faster. Now, this turns out to be a really difficult problem to solve, and so it's taken a little bit longer than initially we'd hoped to get to this. But the team has invented some really new and interesting techniques for doing DKGs, and this is going to yield a really amazing new randomness beacon that will be useful not just for Valora, but for other dApps in the ecosystem on the platform as well. And then finally, Valora is adding CIP8 support so that you can share your avatar and your name with people that you're transacting with, both privately and efficiently, without having to store any information on chain. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to make the user experience of Valora and any wallet that supports CIP8 much more delightful to use. On the cash in and out side, we know the importance of choice, and so the Celo Foundation continues to offer grants and make investments in companies that are building cash in and out experiences, targeting the Celo network. And so if you know of any company like this that you think has a great experience in an important market, definitely feel free to reach out to them, and feel free to reach out to us. As I mentioned, choice is important, and so we want to continue to make these kinds of investments. A lot of these are already also in flight, and so keep an eye out for a lot more cash in and out options landing, hopefully very, very soon. And then Valora is also exploring a native cash in and out experience just for a few select markets, and so keep an eye out for that as well. Now, related to liquidity, making it easier to spend your Celo dollars and Celo euros now in other ways is also really important. And so there's been multiple efforts by multiple Alliance members to both make it easier to spend Celo dollars with payment gateways, and also to make it easier to exchange them through various agent networks. And so that's going to be really, really exciting as well. And then finally, exchanging on-chain is also important for liquidity. And we've heard a ton of feedback that would be nice to exchange against Mento with less slippage, especially for big big kind of exchanges. And so the C Labs team right now is working on a proposal for how to make it easier for these folks to make these bigger trades with a lot less slippage on Mento. Now, related to Mento, with the launch of the Celo Euro, it's time, I think, for us to start identifying the next stablecoins that we want to enable on the platform. And so if there's any markets and any currencies that you're particularly excited about, let's start discussing it and figure out what's next. Moving on to the developer side, where we're super excited to share that Wallet Connect support is coming to Valora soon. That's going to be really, really nice for connecting with your dApps using Valora. And then with what has been a really large increase in the number of wallets that support Celo recently on the platform, you may have already even come across kind of the use contract kit modal that lets you pick which wallet you want to connect with. The web version of this is live and already integrated with a bunch of dApps, but the mobile version is coming soon. I've also mentioned kind of the various bridge efforts already, but I think it's worth mentioning again because this is really one of the #1 requests by many developers, considering the platform. We hear it time and time again, so keep an eye out again for all of those. And then finally, the soon-to-land Donut hard fork, which will be activated next month. Will enable Celo to support legacy signed transactions, which will allow you to use MetaMask directly with the network with some caveats. And so keep an eye out for that. That's going to be exciting. And then on the performance side, the team's been really, really hard at work. You may have noticed that with kind of all of these recent transactions that I showed at the beginning, the block utilization percentage has gone up. And so to talk more about what we're doing to scale with this increased demand, I'm going to hand it over to Tim.
Thank you, Marek. That was an amazing talk. I don't know quite how you managed to do it with all those balloons in front of your head. So yeah, I'm Tim Morton. I'm the head of engineering at C Labs, and I just wanted to give a quick detour into network transaction throughput, talk about some of the events of the last few weeks, and also give you a taste for what we might see coming up in the next few months. So Celo launched with higher throughput than Ethereum. Its BFT consensus algorithm has given really rock solid 5-second block times throughout the last 12 months, and you also get immediate transaction finality. So unlike some of the newer EVM chains, by the way, as Marek pointed out, we've also, as a community, managed to do this while being fully decentralized in terms of the wide range of organizations operating the network. So, however, there's always been this kind of question, which we've sort of had various answers to over the course of the year, which is how to think about work, how to think about doing work on blockchain throughput. We've sort of always known that to deliver on the vision of the Celo platform and to build a service that is available for use by tens or hundreds of millions of users, we would need to do a ton of work over time on increasing the throughput of the blockchain. And we've always kind of quipped that Visa scale, roughly maybe 1,000 transactions a second, is a sort of good target for getting there. But throughput is only valuable to the extent that there are actually users that can consume this. And so we've been consistently working on blockchain performance, but trying to balance that work with features for end users and for developers and all of the other great stuff that Marek has just like highlighted. And how do we find that balance? What's the right amount of like work to do? Well, our goal has been to sort of keep fees below 1 cent. So like aiming to ensure that at all times an end user can come into a wallet like Valora, send a CUSD transfer to a friend or pay to merchant for less than 1 cent. And that has been like the sort of guiding target for scalability for us. Because if fees go above 1 cent, well, we haven't been investing enough in scalability. Unfortunately, like this is a little bit like sort of this technical diagram, which I've included on the slide. It's a bit like sort of laying the track just in front of like a train, but where the train speed is very hard to predict. And in fact, you're trying to lay the track like way out in front, because often it takes like a month or maybe 2 months to make changes in the blockchain, ensure that they're like super robust, tested, like understood in terms of security implications, rolled out across like an entire validator community. So yeah, next slide, please, Marek. So of course, this also assumes that demand kind of comes gradually rather than in spikes. But as is easy to say with hindsight, demand comes in spikes and not gradually. On April the 1st, Coinbase launched a new advanced task to educate users on how to send Celo assets using Valora. The popularity of this task exceeded C-Labs' wildest expectations. It was a phenomenal response. We saw at peak 25 new users per second, which is more than 100x the usual load on the network for onboarding, going through the verification flow. And that kind of number is the number you see at the very largest web and internet properties in terms of like user onboarding. And so the timing of this load was also combined, as these things always are, with a simultaneous cloud provider outage. Yay. So that prevented like the network from allowing some users to complete the Coinbase task, and Coinbase paused the program temporarily. So, this is really, this is our sort of first brush in with like scalability in like the real kind of, we have not, as a group, as a community, we have not met our objective of making sure that during that time, transactions could be made with a fee of less than 1 cent. So on the one hand, actually, everything worked as intended. The Celo network remained available. We continued to process transactions, and we didn't deviate from the 5-second block time. It was actually like, like the silver lining for me is that everything worked as intended. The gas price minimum, part of Celo's implementation of EIP 1559, which is, I think, coming to an Ethereum near you soon, rose under the congestion. Gas prices went up, and things worked. However, like a number of Valora users didn't manage to verify, and they got less than a great user experience. And obviously, that's not what we were like. So the validator community stepped up and responded amazingly. The blockchain team at C-Labs deployed a new version of Celo blockchain. This enabled and increased the block gas limit, the amount of work or transactions that we can fit inside a block to 20 million through a governance hotfix. And Coinbase have been rolling back out the earn task over the last couple of weeks, and the network is performing extremely well under sustained loads. So yeah, a big shout out to everybody involved here. It was, I think, a challenging few weeks for many people, but I think the network has come out like stronger as a result of this. Next slide, please. So just because, like, you know, we've been through this in the last few weeks, and a lot, it's been part of like the sort of operational work of a lot of node operators, and it's obviously impacted a number of users. We wanted to sort of dive into like some of the sort of future work here in a bit more detail. So I first wanted to sort of talk a little bit about what has to happen every time we like ship a new block within 5 seconds. So first, the validator, that is the proposer, has to construct a block, so decide which pending transaction should be applied, and like run their bytecode. Then it needs to send the block to other validators. That's the consensus part here, which all those validators verify it, so run those transactions again. They share their agreement of it in this sort of 2-step process, which involves a bunch of like sending messages around. And then when 2/3 of validators agree, they issue BLS signatures on like the hash of the block, basically. And then finally, the completed block is sent out to all the nodes, and then including validator nodes at the moment, we re-verify that thing. And then hopefully we have some time to sleep, because we need a little bit of wiggle room in case there are network delays or other problems. So thank you, Mac. So there are a large number of changes coming down the pipe for improvements the team have been working on. We have rolled out just one of them. You can see the first on its own allowed the block gas limit to be raised to 20 million. And those on the left are all about block completion time, and those on the right are all about consensus. So can we have the next slide? So some of these are in 1.3, I should say. So all validators, that's the version that all validators and node operators will be upgrading to before the donut hard fork date. And so I'm just going to put out a public service announcement. Please upgrade all nodes before May the 19th, all mainnet nodes before May the 19th. There is a hard fork coming. Hopefully you have already heard this message many times. So I think we are a little low on time, so I'm just going to quickly move through this. Basically, there is a really good path to significantly improving transaction throughput over the next few months. There's much more work to be done. Work is notoriously hard to estimate, but the changes that will land in 1.3 and at the next hard fork may land us on a trajectory to reach about half the average throughput of Visa, at least according to one source I read for that number, by the end of the year. And then beyond that, there are many avenues for further optimization. We have sort of routes to reducing the cost of regular transactions and of the very expensive onboarding and verification transactions that were the cause of the challenges a few weeks ago. We are also investigating significant changes to the storage layer and the whole-scale deterministic parallelization of the EVM. And I expect we will get to beyond Visa scale on L1. I could be wrong, but I am also really excited for the community to begin exploring L2 solutions alongside this. Together, all of these changes will make Celo truly accessible to tens or hundreds of millions of users. As part of this broader stepping up of the performance and scalability work that the C-Labs blockchain team has been doing alongside other members of the community, we're going to be sharing more documentation about the ongoing performance work next week. Please keep an eye on the Hash blockchain channel on Discord. We absolutely value the contributions, and I will finish by saying happy birthday and thank you everybody involved.
Amazing. Thank you, Tim.